Hey everyone, I hope you're well. I have quite an interesting topic to talk about today, and I'd love to hear your feedback on it. It's about using mechanics in game that aren't intended by the developers but end up becoming part of the meta anyway. A perfect example of this is looting whilst moving. This is something that isn't even meant to be a thing, but everybody does it. This is an accepted part of the meta at this point. Another good example is tap strafing and super gliding. These are technically bugs, but a lot of players, especially movement enthusiasts, have now considered it a very important mechanic in the game, and they would really hate it if it was removed. And personally, I really like it as well. But what about something like an ability animation cancel, like Wraith's super glide portal animation cancel? Is that a little too far? Or how about in this case, a turret animation cancel with Sheila, where you can put down your walls faster? It's hard to get right, it's hard to time, it's hard to use in a fight, but it feels a little wrong to use. The question really I want to talk about today and kind of go through as I'm playing is, where's the line? Where should the line be drawn between a blatant exploit that should probably be bannable or at least fixed, or something that deserves to stay in the game for the health of the game and the improvement of the meta overall? Today is a bit of a mismatch of gameplay and me experimenting with this feature and talking about exploits versus unintended mechanics to end up becoming a part of the core experience. So we're just going to jump into it. It's a bit all over the place, so stay tuned to hear my thoughts here and there. I hope you enjoy it. Let's jump into it. We have the situation in our hands. We can now test out this mechanic or exploit, whatever you would call it. So this is how it works. You essentially, this is the normal speed of placing down walls, right? Now compare that to the animation cancel, where you press Q, get out your turret, and then press Q again to cancel that animation. A lot faster. Now I'm going to try and use it in combat today and just see how it goes, honestly. I want to hear your opinions on like, what is an exploit and what isn't an exploit? What is a mechanic that deserves to stay in the game that requires skill and improves the meta of the game, and what should be removed and what should be bannable? Like, it's a really interesting thing, and I think, like, there's no clear night and day answer.
Giving my shields a recharge. Amp cover's getting packed up. Amp cover's getting packed up. Tossing up some amp cover. I'm the kill leader? Of course I am. Why refuse? Charging my shields.
Pretty scary, not gonna lie. Oh, hi.
Putting up some amp cover.
I am the Omega. The Omega turret. That worked.
Charging my shields.
Alright, time to pick up camp. I don't know. I'll use it. Let me know what you think. Is it night and day? Is an exploit an exploit an exploit? Or does it depend on the... like, what matters? Oh, dude, it's actually really hard to... get the inputs right, not gonna lie.
Keep your mess out of the fast lane, plonkers. Enemy hitting us. Hold on.
Haha. Scary stuff.
10 more seconds.
Just test it. You could go QZ, QZ, Q. Okay. It's just scary when someone's right in your face. I can't really remember the inputs. We'll try, we'll try. Hello? It's too smart for me, huh? So here we go, ready? It's here.
Getting my cover out again. Putting up some armed cover.
Kinda crazy, not gonna lie.
That's my cover.
Uh,
Blanca's shooting at me. Tossing up
it's
some
so
armed
hard to get right.
Backing up my cover.
Alright, look. Obviously, I'm trying to use this in a fight, which kind of, you know,
Healing.
yeah, I mean, if I get the inputs down, it's kind of nuts. It's kind of nuts. Not gonna lie.
Packed up.
And if they do bring that buff, which
Charging.
is rumored, the buff which allows Rampart to place her wall, like her walls will build faster and all of the building animations are quicker, that's kind of scary. But what are your thoughts? Is it a straight up exploit? If it is an exploit, then is super gliding an exploit? Is tap strafing an exploit? For people that defend super gliding and tap strafing as a movement mechanic that, like, is a good thing for the game, for the health of the game, then what about animation cancels? Like, where is the line drawn? I feel like this is a really Didn't I craft 2 shield bats? Oh, wait, I used one. It's a really interesting way to think about things. I don't know what my opinions are of it. My first initial thoughts are it's an exploit. Like, it's obviously not intended. But the same thing can be said for a lot of high-level movement in Apex. And the same can be said for perhaps a lot of high-level gameplay in games like Street Fighter, Smash Brothers. How much are intended game mechanics and how much are bugs that just ended up becoming the meta? It's a really interesting thing. Like I say, my first initial thoughts are it is kind of an exploit that should be removed. But I am also of the opinion that tap strafing and super gliding add to the enjoyment of the game, and it levels up movement. Movement becomes more enjoyable, more like at the end of the day, if someone does tap strafing and super gliding against me in a fight effectively, I'm happy, I'm impressed, I find it fun. I don't feel like, oh, he's using a horrible exploit that's just unfair. I feel like it evolves the core gameplay to another level. Now, if someone just builds an entire fort in 1 second with Rampart Wars, I don't know how, I don't know. Like I say, first thoughts are it's an exploit, but what do you think? Thanks for the armor swap service.
Squad's taken out.
Appreciate it. Let's just get out of here. Whoop.
Squad's taken out. Putting up some amped cover. Backing up my cover. Backing up my cover. Kill the Blanca.
I gotta say that whilst it is definitely not intended, it is a very high skill mechanic to use very well, honestly. You ended up just fumbling.
Only half the squad's left. Another day, another anxiety. Tossing up some amped cover.
But something like this seems a little bit unfair. Like we've got a free build out of that.
Shield broke.
Are you gonna phase? I was gonna arm.
Someone's shooting at me.
Ooh.
Whole squad down.
Yeah.
Charge
I don't know.
shields.
It's really powerful if you can get it right, but it's really hard to get right. I think my opinion is still the same, that something like this, it's fun. Here's the thing that I like about it. It's not just mindlessly giving you a free win or something. Like, it's hard to make right. It's hard to get it perfect. Like, trying to do this. Like, sorry, see what I mean? Like,
Get my cover out of here.
you end up messing up. You end up pulling out your turret when you don't want to, because you have to not just stand still, but put all the other inputs of like moving around. But with some practice, I think that would be overcome. And then you do just kind of end up having an issue of it being a little too overpowered. And I do feel like, here's the thing, when I super glide or tap strafe, I don't feel guilty about it. You know, I feel like that's just part of the game at this point. When I do this mechanic with Rampart, I do feel a little bit guilty about it. I do feel like it's a little bit wrong. Like what I'm doing shouldn't be allowed. It shouldn't be part of the game. And maybe that's it, you know? There's a certain line to cross, and that line is related to how fair it feels to be using against other people, you know? I kind of really think off the top of my head other abilities like that perhaps have... Okay, actually, you know what? Here's a perfect example. This isn't intended, and this is going to get a lot of people talking about it. Let's talk about Wraith's animation cancels. You can cancel Wraith's tactical simply by climbing a wall, right? You can super glide, portal, and get a lot more distance, but cancel the portal animation by timing it right. And a lot of Wraith players are just using this. It's a normal piece of their kit. If that is something that's accepted, then something like this should also be accepted. It should also be something that's allowed in the game. Question is something like Wraith's animation cancel, which I'll put on screen now, is that allowed? Is that fair? And if it is fair, then why isn't Rampart support fair? Now I'm conflicted. I don't know. When I think of seeing, like, when I first thought of that portal thing, I thought, it's a cool mechanic, very high level, hard to get the timing right, but it feels fun, and I wouldn't be mad if someone did that to me. Like, I think it's pretty cool. If someone just builds a billion walls in a second, is that... I don't know, where do you draw the line? And why... There's so many little intricacies to it. I honestly don't know. I think ultimately, yeah, my final thoughts are that if Wraith's animation cancel, this one is considered fair game, then I think Ramparts is also considered fair game. But if this is considered an exploit that should be fixed, then Ramparts is an exploit that should be fixed. And if you disagree, then I'd love to hear your opinions on this issue. I think that it's very... yeah, a very divisive issue. A lot of people don't like the idea of super gliding and tap strafing, but a lot of people would literally quit the game if tap strafing was removed. They would be so frustrated and sad to see something that to them is a core part of Apex movement at this point. Question is, what's the right answer and who deserves to make the decisions? What I really like about Respawn in this instance with tap strafing is they didn't just straight up remove it. They wanted to remove it, but they realized that it impacts movement in ways that they know the community wouldn't like. So they were very careful, and they've held off for now. So at least community input is somewhat important. Alright everyone, like usual, I just died as soon as I find the next fight. I've had so much difficulty trying to play this game recently, but anyway, I think overall, I think it feels a little unfair. I think that it kind of removes the readability of Rampart's kit. And I think that that's it. Everything really comes down to each case-by-case basis with exploits or unintended mechanics. What do you think? Let me know. I'll see you in the comments. Cheerio!